Edmund Kemper, at age 15, killed both of his grandparents just to, quote-unquote, see what it felt like. Upon release, he drifted, picking up and releasing female hitchhikers, but he soon stopped letting them go, killing 6 young women in the Santa Cruz, California area in the 1970s. In 1973, he killed his mother and her friend before finally turning himself in. Edmund Kemper is notably the most prolific and gruesome serial killers to ever live on this earth. Things are about to get super creepy on this channel, guys. Today we're going to be going over the first interview, and I'm not sure if it's the first interview ever of this maniac, Edmund Kemper, but it's the first recorded interview, because I believe, if I remember correctly, his first ever interview was in like 1971, and I don't think that they were recording interviews back then. This one takes place in 1984, so I believe it's the first recorded interview. We're about to be super creeped out, guys, because Edmund Kemper is one of the most gruesome and notorious serial killers to ever enter America. Probably this world, to be honest. It's gonna get super weird. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. We just hit over 600,000 subscribers, which is absolutely insane. So hit that subscribe button, and if you guys want to see some more serial killer stuff, make sure you drop a like on the video today. It's a little bit different because what I usually do is I try to solve unsolved cases or cold cases, and it's usually people that were never convicted. Edmund Kemper, on the other hand, was already convicted, and it is a solved case. He's on death row as we speak. In order for me to be able to solve unsolved cases, I think it's a really, really good idea to be watching serial killers that were already solved. Get into the mind of them, and then you can, use that, the knowledge you learn from someone who has done those crimes, and try to connect it with people that are doing the crimes, if you know what I mean. So that's the goal for today, and I'm excited. I'm excited to watch this. I've watched it once before, a long time ago. I don't really remember it. It's back when I was a weirdo, not on YouTube, and I just like watching this stuff for fun. But we're going to watch it with you guys today and dissect it today with you guys. So feel free to go in the comments and just comment on anything that this guy says. I'll stop it once in a while to put my 2 cents in, but make sure you guys use the comment section, and we'll all debate in there. Ready? 3, 2, 1, and begin.
Well, I'm not an expert. I'm not an authority. I'm someone who has been a murderer for almost 20 years.
Can you say how many people might be doing crimes like you were doing?
It would be a guess, but it's not. It's far more than 35. It isn't that impossible in this society. It happens.
Are there more people?
They didn't give up.
How many?
She didn't give up. I did. I came in out of the cold.
What he's saying there when he says the cold, he just means that there's people that are killing right now that will just simply not be caught for another many, many years because they're trying to hide it. He, on the other hand, was cooperative. He turned himself in and, does interviews like this to try to help out people that are trying to solve cases nowadays. But there's so many other killers. It's not 35. I know they said 35, but there's so many more that are just have not been caught yet, which is crazy to think about. But that's what he means when he says they're in the cold.
And what I'm saying is there are some people who prefer it in the cold.
What did people see?
A nice guy.
Did you like Kemper?
I like Kemper.
You were able to appear like an ordinary person, non-threatening to...
I lived as an ordinary person most of my life, even though I was living a parallel and increasingly sick life, other life. One victim let me back in the car. I locked myself out. She opened the door for me. My gun was under the seat. What in the hell am I doing telling you that? Am I a masochist? Am I looking to be tormented further? I'm trying to show you just how awful this got, how commanding these rages got. I was raging inside. There was just incredible energies, positive and negative, depending on a mood. That would trigger one or the other. And outside, I looked troubled at times. Other times I looked moody. Other times perfectly serene. Not very sane. But again, people weren't even aware of what was happening.
In 1972 and 1973, a series of murders shocked Northern California. College girls began to disappear while hitchhiking. 2 of the victims were picked up from the campus of the University of California at Santa Cruz. That's where Ed Kemper's mother was working as an administrative assistant.
You were involved in the campus because your mother worked there.
Yes. I was also involved in killing co-eds because my mother was associated with college work, college co-eds, women.
He keeps bringing up his mom, and he might say in this interview, I don't remember correctly, but I know from way back that he was heavily messed up by his mother. His mother played a huge role in the monster that he became. I don't know if he'll go into it in the interview, so I don't want to talk about it, but his mother was a terrible mother to this poor guy. I mean, not poor guy, but you know what I mean.
And had a very strong and violently outspoken position on men for much of my upbringing. My mother was a sick, angry, hungry, and very sad woman. I hated her, but I wanted to love my mother. And I watched the alcohol increase. I watched her social life drop off. I watched her get bizarre. She had terrible pain from her life, earlier life, her upbringing, a failed marriage with my father. I'm a constant reminder of that failure. I hate to distill it down into such, into one-word realities like that. There's a lot that leads into that happening, but that is what happened. They represented not what my mother was, but what she liked, what she coveted, what was important to her, and I was destroying it.
Why did you actually kill the girls?
My frustration, my inability to communicate socially, sexually. I wasn't impotent, but emotionally I was impotent. I was scared to death of failing in male-female relationships. I knew absolutely nothing about that whole area, even if just sitting down and talking with a young lady. I need to be able to really communicate, and ironically enough, that's why I began picking people up. And I'm picking up young women, and I'm going a little bit farther each time. It's a daring kind of a thing. At first there wasn't a gun. I'm driving along. We go to a vulnerable place where there aren't people watching, where I could act out, and I say, no, I can't. And then a gun is in the car, hidden. And this craving, this awful, raging, eating feeling inside.
You know, a lot of people think that you're just born coming out of the womb with a knife, going around killing people, like if you're a serial killer. But, I mean, what he's explaining here is that it started off just him being frustrated, like with his incapability of communicating with females. So he got a car and was trying to hitchhike females just so he can get better at communicating with them. But his frustration kept building and building and building. So it's not like he just like was like out of the womb like, oh, I'm gonna be a killer, I'm gonna kill everybody. But, you know, it's like a perfect tornado that just kept happening and building up to the monster that he became.
I could feel it consuming my insides, this fantastic passion. It was overwhelming me. It was like drugs. It was like alcohol. A little isn't enough. At first it is. And as you adjust to that psychologically and physically, you take more and more and more. It's the same process. So it finally came down to the thing of, do I dare bring this gun out? Already realizing if that gun comes out, something has to happen. It was going to happen. I didn't see it then, but it was going to happen. I was playing a dangerous game with a loaded gun that got us all.
On one occasion, Kemper picked up 2 roommates in Berkeley.
In that first killing in May of '72, when that gun was pulled out, I launched it out. I had it under my leg, out of sight, parallel to my leg in the seat. It was something that had been thought out in fantasy, acted out, felt out hundreds of times before it ever happened.
Kemper drove them at gunpoint to a secluded area near a park. He took one of them into the woods, leaving the second girl tied in the car.
I just gone through a horrible experience with her roommate, stabbing her. And I was in shock because of that. I couldn't believe that it was that way. And I'm walking back there bewildered. I gotta kill her. I can't let her go.
If you notice his speech there, he keeps talking about himself in the situation, which is very common for like psychopaths like this. They're very, well, I want to say all of them, but a lot of times they're very, very narcissistic. And he's so out of reality, living in his own reality, that he thinks like the world revolves around him. Like he's the center point and everything around him is about him. Like right now, he just stabbed a girl. Instead of thinking like, oh my gosh, like I just stabbed a girl, like what's gonna happen? I should do this. No, he's thinking, oh my God, I just stabbed a girl. What's gonna happen to me? I gotta do something about it. Like everything's about him. And I think if he keeps talking, you'll notice that like it's everything is about him at this in his own little reality.
He's gonna tell him. Everybody's gonna get me. She sees the blood on my hands. What are you doing? She pulled back and she gasped. And I think, whoa, I don't want her to know what happened. I said, your friend got smart with me. She'd been getting really smart with me a lot, but I never hit her. I killed her, but I didn't hit her. I said, your friend got smart with me and I hit her. I think I broke her nose. You better come help. She's about to die. Why does she have to know that? I couldn't deal with telling her that. And when I attacked her, she didn't at first realize what was happening. It didn't go through. She had very heavy coveralls on. It knocked her right up into the lid of the car, but it didn't pierce the clothing. So it wasn't that swell a knife anyway. I went out and bought a pawn shop huge knife. And I kept on just mindlessly attacking. She falls back into the trunk. I just killed a young woman. I slammed down the lid of the trunk. She isn't dead, she's dying. And I panicked. I thought, I just locked the car keys in it, because I can't find them in my pocket. Oh my God, I locked them in the trunk. I'm kicking on the trunk lid and yanking on it. Oh no, I don't believe this. I started to run, and I tripped over the gun that I'd had in my pants that I had totally forgotten was there. I stopped. I said, stop and think. I collected my wits. Check all your pockets. I picked the gun up. I stuck it back in my pants, now remembering I had one. I checked all my pockets, and there's the keys in the back pocket. I never put them in my back pocket.
Everyone makes mistakes, and that's what we have to hope for. The more mistakes they make, the better their chances.
I thought I was pretty slick, and went and tripped all over myself. That first 2 murders, the first 24 hours, there were 3 clear times I should have been busted, and I wasn't. Because 3 different individuals or 3 different groups of people got scared and minded their own business and looked the other way.
Some of the people who are committing murders, even as we speak, if they're doing it by themselves and they tell no one about it, they could go on.
And that's going back to what he said like in the first like 2 minutes of the interview, what this cop just said. There's so many people killing right now that are just going to keep getting away with it because they're killing by themselves, and they're, you know what I mean? And there's nobody that knows. A lot of times killers go in and they don't want to live like that anymore, and they turn themselves in and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people that want to keep getting away with it. That's happening right now as we speak, and they'll keep getting away with it until they slip up. It's really just like an IQ game to these killers. Like, oh, how long can I go without getting caught, you know? Sometimes they give up, sometimes they keep going.
Undetected until they decided to stop, and the police wouldn't catch them unless we just happened to roll up on them while they were doing it.
Even after police warnings against hitchhiking and an increased bus schedule on the campus, Kemper had no trouble picking up hitchhikers. Ironically, one warning advised riding only in cars with university stickers. Kemper's car had such a sticker.
My mother worked at the campus, and I had an A sticker on my car, an obvious access day or night to the campus. I was picking up some very lovely young women. You know what we were talking about as we're driving around? Almost as often as not, this guy that's going around doing this stuff. And the second they started talking that, they didn't realize it, but they were getting a free ride. I couldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, I swear. You know, but they'd be telling me what all about this guy, and they're comparing notes and speculating on what he looks like, how he carries himself, why he's doing this stuff, telling me about it.
So how come they get in a car with somebody at that time?
She judged me not to be that guy. I didn't look like it. It was getting easier to do. I was getting better at it. I was getting less detectable. I started flaunting that invisibility, severing a human head, 2 of them, at night in front of my mother's residence, with her at home, my neighbors at home upstairs, their picture window open, the curtains open, 11 o'clock at night, the lights are on. All they have to do is walk by, look out, and I've had it.
Why did you keep the heads? Why did you cut them off, and why did you keep them?
Something out of my childhood. I could put it on an incident. I mean, my father chopping the heads off of our 2 pet chickens and my mother insisting that I eat them for dinner. You know, we could say it was something that simple. I don't think it was. Now, my dad heads out back with a hatchet. I got on my bike and I tried to stop it. I remember that. I got on the bike, rode around the block. I was crying. I haven't talked about that for a lot of years. I'm sure that may have implemented something, that may have gotten something rolling, but along fantasy lines, but it took a lot of years of development along those lines to really get off.
But how are you able to, in 1 minute, have someone's head in your hands, and very shortly thereafter?
Living through a fantasy, however that would relate to that severed head. And then 5 minutes later, I'd put that away, and there'd be a knock on the door, and I'd put it away and answer the door. And the landlady would be there, and we'd discuss it.
Discuss what?
Reality. Her reality, not mine. Some people go crazy at that point. I felt it. It was one hell of a tweak. I mean, to just flip out and not know where I was. To be walking up the stairs with a camera bag that belonged to a young woman that had her severed head in it. Walking up to my apartment, past a happy young couple coming down the stairs who nodded and smiled at me as they went by. Good evening. And they're going out on a date where I'd love to be going. And I'm aware of both of these realities, and the distance between those two is so dramatic, so amazing, so violent, that really, I could feel the wheels squeaking inside. That was really pulling on it. And I imagine at that point some people break. But I didn't literally go insane. I didn't get lost.
And all this time, Kemper was able to seem normal. He even hung out at a bar across the street from the courthouse, making friends with policemen, trying to pick up information.
They'd buy me a beer, I'd buy them a beer. Casual relationships, but I was poking around a little bit trying to find some things out. I knew they wouldn't be privy to hot information, but there were some things that were bothering me, like were there any speculations on how they were dying.
Did the cops like you?
Like I said, a friendly nuisance. I got in the way, and it was deliberate. Again, friendly nuisances are dismissed.
How did you get the knowledge to outsmart the police?
Watching television, believe it or not. Joseph Wambaugh, police story. Got some tremendous insights into not just the gimmicks, the actual things, the tidbits that you would pick up from their procedures, but the mechanics behind that, the logic behind it, was I would not allow myself to walk into even a potential trap of behavior. And one of those was talking about those crimes too much to people, initiating conversations about that.
There was a memorial service for 2 of the victims.
Yes,
Were you tempted to go?
yes.
But
I'd seen one too many episodes of one too many crime shows where that is one of the available resources for clues. Tracking down the attenders, one man taking pictures of the people there to eliminate as potential suspects.
some police department, now they actually came to your house to pick up a handgun.
Sheriff's representatives. One of the detectives was upset because he heard I had a .44 Magnum pistol and was a convicted mental patient and killed.
What an absolute maniac this guy is. That's going to wrap up the first half of the first recorded interview of Edmund Kemper. This just goes to show you guys, though, that, like, the world is a crazy place, first of all, and second of all, the monsters that are in this world are not some green, scary monsters that are under your bed. Like, they're people that blend in. Your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, like, those are the monsters. It's scary, It's a reality that I don't ever want to experience, but we're digging into the mind of Edmund Kemper today, and I'm gonna write a bunch of notes on this kind of stuff. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Maybe you can help me pinpoint some certain things that is gonna be valuable in the future. If you guys wanna see a part 2, aka the second part of this specific interview, make sure you leave a like on the video. Again, I can't stress it enough, go in the comments and let me know what you think, and make sure you pin the specific spot you're talking about, because I want to be going through that. Leave the comments as a debate, everybody be talking to each other and stuff like that, because we're going to be dissecting Edmund Kemper's mind together, me and you guys. I love you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later. Edmund Kemper, at age 15, killed both of his grandparents just to, quote-unquote, see what it felt like. Upon release, he drifted, picking up and releasing female hitchhikers, but he soon stopped letting them go, killing 6 young women in the Santa Cruz, California area in the 1970s. In 1973, he killed his mother and her friend before finally turning himself in. Edmund Kemper is notably the most prolific and gruesome serial killers to ever live on this earth.